Blind as a bat.
I can see.
Hey, everybody. This is your girl Eldridge here, and we are live on V.O.I.C.E.S tonight. And as you're going to notice, we switched it up on you. And to my left is my sister,
Bess.
Allison.
D'Artagnan.
And we want to know, what's your frequency? Okay, so like tonight, ladies, we really wanted to get into this discussion about the way that the interview went with the Kobe Bryant, Gayle King interview. Mm-hmm. And we only saw like a minute of the clip that was on CBS that they aired, but we had the responsibility to go back and review the whole clip. So what did you think about the way that the media actually portrayed the interview versus what you actually saw when you reviewed the whole clip? What was your thoughts?
You want to start?
What's your frequency?
I personally think that Gayle knew what she was doing. I didn't feel like she meant it in a malicious way. I feel like she didn't think that people would perceive it that way either. I think she thought that people would be eager to watch it because she's talking about something that used to be a really big topic. I think that she thought it would be good for their station. I feel like the producers and the executive producers of the show knew that it would cause negative controversy surrounding Gayle, and they let her do it anyway. So I feel like it was a trap that she went into, but she
willingly went into it?
I wouldn't say willingly went into it. I just think that she thought it would turn out a different way.
Okay.
She knew it was kind of shady, but she thought they would have took it how they took the R. Kelly video. Was like, it's shady that she's interviewing him, but we want to watch it because it's really big controversy. Right. So I thought that it was a trap that she knew she was going into, but she thought that she was gonna come out on the other side, and they sealed the hold on her.
What do you think? What's your frequency on this, Allison?
She should have known better than to even open her mouth and ask it.
Why do you say that? She's a journalist. Why do you say that?
The man just died with his child. His wife and his family are grieving, and you're going to bring up a case that he was acquitted of because this woman wanted to grab the money and run because she didn't want to deal with anything. And that's the question you're going to ask when the family is grieving? Excuse me, but are you fucking kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? Like, she should have never opened her mouth. I don't care. Any other circumstance, she's an individual. She had control over what she said. She should have never opened her mouth and asked that question. It was straight up disrespectful, not only to Kobe Bryant, but it was 10 times more disrespectful to his family and to Lisa.
Hold on 1 second. I need to check something. Keep going, because I just want to check something back.
What do you think, Bob?
I didn't think that it was maliciously done. And I didn't think that if I would have just saw the clip that they aired, I would have been just as pissed off as everybody else. But when I went back and I watched it, but I think the only reason she brought it up because it was just brought up again. Right. She wasn't the first person that brought this up. Whether she shouldn't have entertained it, but she wasn't the first person that brought this up as a media journalist. So she was just trying to close the door on it. Like, you know, this is something that they keep bringing up that's is tarnishing his name. Right. How do you feel about this, and why? And what do you think needs to happen with this? And she was perfectly honest. Right. You need to let it go. Like, this happened how many years ago? If you had questions about it, you should have asked those questions then. Don't bring it up in his death and continue to bring it up in his death. And I think it was of poor taste of her. Yes. It was very poor taste.
I don't believe it was a malicious act either, just so we're clear. I don't believe that it was. I just think it was better. Very poor judgment. Very poor judgment on her part to even ask.
She should have knew better.
But I also think about the position that she put Lisa in. Right. And I wonder if there was a preset of questions before she had the interview, and was she okay with this? Because if Lisa was okay with it, I feel like then that also diminishes the malicious intent that people feel like it was behind the question. If Lisa was okay with it, then I feel like she also didn't think it would be a big deal, because why would she want to tarnish her reputation either? Right. But also, if it wasn't a preset question, why would you put Lisa in this, even though she did handle it well, why would you put her in a position to either answer that kind of question or be a part of that conversation? with her best friend.
My whole thing about when you're a journalist, I get that you have to ask specific questions. To your point, like you said, the questions, were they pre-written questions? Did Lisa know she was going to ask those questions? Did Gayle know those questions were going to be? Here's my position. I was talking to Dar and you when you first came in, and I believe that Gayle was a pawn in a game. This is things that maybe white people want to ask, because I saw the BBC interviews. I also saw what was happening on some of the places where it was just white men talking and having this conversation. And they were openly talking about that whole incident that happened in 2003. So one, I think that because Gayle was so successful in getting our attention during the R. Kelly interview, she's one of the few Black people that can still get into a room and hear the conversations that are going on. And now, since she was set up really to take the fall for something that CBS really wanted to do, this is just another systemic way of using racist tactics for people and allowing us to do the dirty work that happens. Because you know we don't own none of the media. Okay, that's the first piece. We do not own CBS. That's the first piece that everybody needs to understand. The second piece, if you look at the number of Black journalists that are actually on mainstream TV media that's doing stories, how many do you have? Tamron Hall is gone. You don't really see any other Black journalists. Oprah has another venue which she's using, and she does not do sensationalistic stories. After the R. Kelly incident, I watched how Black people sort of embraced, a lot of Black women embraced Gayle and applauded her for asking the hard questions. You're right, Bess. I think that she thought when she went in that these questions, that in the Black community, we were going to receive them a certain way, and they backfired because the timing was off. I do believe that she was a pawn in the game. I do believe that they sent her in the room to do their dirty work and that she fell for it. And now that we as the Black community are outraged, we now have no one in the room when they're having conversations about us who can actually use a subjective methodology. Now, I don't mean necessarily subjective, but non-partially biased from our perspective to look at things through our lens. So we don't have anybody in the room, and you know we don't own those radio stations, or TV stations. So I feel like it was a setup. And I'm gonna say one final thing before I let you have the floor. Lonnie Love always says on the reel that before videos or anything that released, there's an editor, there's a producer, and Jamal the intern usually will screen things. This time we know clearly Jamal didn't screen this. Also, I believe that there was somebody in that organization that wanted to take Gayle King down, didn't like her. It's always somebody that wants your job. You always got to remember that. And I think that she thought that she had power, that she didn't. And this was white America's way of letting her know, you only got power as a woman and a woman of color when we say you got something. Now we have reined you in. Your credibility is shot with the Black community. And damn it, you won't be getting in the room to tell us nothing else. That's Eldridge's perspective. I'm not asking anybody to agree with me, but I'm going to tell you I see things from a different perspective. And the last thing that I really want to say is I watched Vanessa Bryant back in 2003 when the original scandal broke, and I looked at the dignity and the grace in which that young woman handled the scandal. She never said a word. Or maybe we need to take a lesson from the way that she's handling the situation now. If you notice, everybody else is all outraged and up in arms. Even though she's in grief, this lady is still handling everything with dignity and grace. And from the bottom of my heart, being a widow myself, I know what she's going through, but I applaud her for the dignity and the grace that she has demonstrated as a woman and a woman of color in these ever-changing, controversial times. That's my frequency on the whole issue.
I just want to say, if they do fire Gayle, it'll be because she no longer serves a purpose for them.
Hello.
And not because she asked that question and it was out of line. It's because your credibility is shot with the Black community, so we can no longer use you as our puppet. You not gonna serve us a purpose. But had it went the other way, they wouldn't fire her if she does get fired.
Yeah, and so I think that the rage that we're seeing, that's exactly what they want to see, is us turn against her. Yes, the timing was off, but I still say she did not have power. She does not own that station. And this is their way of telling her you don't have power. Because if you think about it, anytime somebody give you anything, you don't really own it.
Mm-hmm.
We don't own radio stations. We don't own TV stations. We don't even own the towers that they're being broadcast on. So some of the castigation that she's taking, we maybe need to look back and see what's happening to us as a community and how, again, we at each other's throats, which may be what they wanted to have happen anyway. Y'all need to see beyond the screen, okay?
For me, there's a huge difference of why she's getting so much backlash. It's because when she did the interview with R. Kelly, I mean, like, yes, he had great music and everything, but what he was doing was he was known for what he was doing with the young women, for all this, for the videos. That was all the ongoing things. Yeah. When it came to Kobe, this was an incident 17 years ago, and
he was acquitted.
He was acquitted.
Thrown out.
Wasn't R. Kelly exonerated of the first charges that happened to him too?
But they
even though everybody knew that.
Hold on,
you've seen a video.
There was a video, but I'm gonna say this, and this is the problem, and this is why so many people are so damn mad that she asked this question, is because R. Kelly, he wasn't a hero.
Right.
He wasn't a black man that was somebody that was looked up to, a hero. Why, when a black man dies, do you have to bring up something like this? Why can't he just die a hero? Why do you have to do that to him? Why can't we just be sad? Why can't you grieve for him? Why can't we remember everything great he did? Why do you have to bring up the one damn thing that he was acquitted of? Why can't he just die a fucking hero and be that?
I see a pattern though, because even when they talked about Dr. King's legacy 25 years later, I don't know if you guys saw it, but they had the hidden tapes and they were trying to paint Dr. King as someone who was an adulterer. So there seems to be a pattern of men of color, and I'm just going to say it like I'm going to say it, and okay, get upset if you want, but there seems to be a pattern when there are men of color who do things that uplift and help the black community. You find some way in the media to tear that image down. And I think, again, that as people of color, we have to stop letting people control our reactions to stuff. And I will say it again. And I think that when I look at these young women who don't react and don't go into the media and roll their neck and do all these things, again, they debunking myths about the way that we respond as women of color. And that's what I really like about the situation. Even though it's an ugly situation, again, I will say the dignity and grace in which these women have displayed who they are and their character says a lot to me, because you never ever heard Coretta Scott King go in and defend or try to say anything about Martin. She let things lay where they were, and then what they always say is let sleeping dogs lie. And tomorrow they'll be on to something else. The other thing that I really didn't like about this whole thing is the media is always doing some dogmatic stuff. Did you guys just see where they were talking about Kobe's legacy and they were showing LeBron James's picture? Okay, so that just kind of gives you an idea of what's going on. Not only are they tarnishing the legacy, but you can't even get the people right.
Right. As if they
what's
look
that
alike.
about?
But you know how black people do look alike.
They ain't even the same number.
Not even the same number. I mean, this is ridiculous. So I think there's a lot of underlying subversive tactics that are being used to not only discredit our men, and we as women, no matter what color we are, if we have a man of color, we need to stand up for our men and say, you know what? We're not taking this anymore. We don't necessarily agree with what Gayle did, but we see you, media. We see what you're doing.
Right. But that's always done. Like, I mean, look at every black man that's been shot by the cops that was holding his hands up. The first thing they're going to do, they obviously shot, somebody that was like holding their hands up. So the first thing they do is, well, let's go look at his record. And there's one time where, that's all they show.
Yeah,
like,
they show
why do you have to vilify them? Like, when the white boy gets shot, do you show his criminal record?
Right.
Do you make him bad? Or when he rapes a woman and, gets off scot-free. We don't want to screw up his scholarship. We'll just brush that rape aside. But when it comes to the black man, he had a jaywalking ticket one time. So, let's make him be the worst person in the world. And he deserved whatever he got.
It even goes as deep as to how when they the pictures that they actually show when the person dies. If you notice, the brother could have 75 pictures. They find the worst picture with the worst. The worst picture.
Always.
Yep.
Yes.
And
make them look like they
always right.
Thugs
and every white boy, they every single one is the
he was
one
a
picture
choir
that they
boy.
ever took in a suit. That's the one picture they show.
No, he had on his choir robe, y'all. Sorry. When he was the altar boy.
But for me, that's ultimately why that's such a problem that she said anything. He was a hero. He died a hero. He was looked up to by millions of men, women, children. So in the wake of his death, why do you have to do that to him? You know what I mean? Like, it's not okay.
I don't think she had any power. Again, I believe she was a pawn, and I think that anybody that takes a job on a mainstream news station, you better be ready and willing, because somebody wants your job and they're going to sabotage you. And that's what I see here is some form of sabotage. You know, if you look at all the different things we just talked about, all the patterns, the rhetorical ways that they create meaning about what brothers look like and the way they are depicted in our society. Like you said, Allie, it doesn't matter if he was a choir boy. When you see it, you're going to see him with 2 braids pulled to the back and that hoodie on. You think about Trayvon Martin and how they still depict this boy who was killed innocently, and they got him with a hoodie on all the time.
And it's raining, but he got his hoodie on his head. It's raining. Who walking outside without something on their head?
It could be sunshine out there, and they're going to show you in a hoodie with it pulled up, and it's 95 degrees. So I want people to really, really start digging into the images and thinking about what's the real message that they're trying to send, and what is it that they're trying to do to deflect us. We concentrating on other things. It's election, y'all, coming up. And if we really, really want power, we need to start thinking about who the Congress people are in power, how laws are made, and the things that are being not talked about, like Wade versus Roe. You know, the legalization of marijuana. That's another whole situation we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about that on another segment. But we want to thank y'all for tuning in. And were there any final thoughts on the way that Gayle was portrayed and her power, lack of power, or how we should respond and be as a people?
I think she needs to, first of all, she did get on and apologize. So I did see the apology that she sent out, that although they told her not to say anything, they told her to be quiet. She did put an apology out there, but we are so quick to hang each other.
Yes, we are some unforgiving people when it comes to us.
Hang each other. Period. I don't care what the issue is.
Yeah, and why are we so easy to forgive everybody else but our own people?
Everybody but us. But Gayle,
girl,
that was wrong, girl.
You knew better.
And next time,
Oprah don't say nothing.
Yeah.
Oprah, I know that's your best friend.
She's
love her.
They've already given Oprah backlash for coming to, for defending Gayle. Like,
that's because people over Oprah. Because of how she always is the first person to test. As soon as they say we finna make a documentary on Michael Jackson, she
tear him down. She's going to be the first one to tear him down.
The
first one to tear him down.
We was over Oprah.
So don't y'all see the pattern?
But see, we tear each other. That is what I'm saying. Like, we do it to ourselves. You don't see the Mexicans out there tearing each other down. What you see? Let a Mexican go out there and buy a house. You're going to see 10 people over there helping rebuild that house before they get into it. We don't do that to each other. Let me buy a house and say, can y'all come help me paint the walls? They be like, I'm busy. Right. What we doing? I'm busy. I'm out. You know what I'm saying? There's no...
That's another whole show when we talk about Bob.
Camaraderie.
Right. Do y'all know who Bob is? Bob is black on black crime. And so we're going to leave you with these final thoughts. Is that we need to continue to practice love in our community. Again, we need to do like Kobe's wife and chill back and just remember his legacy and let his legacy be the thing that motivates us to do better. Do better the way we look at each other, the way we talk to each other, and start to uplift. Again, that's what the purpose of this show is to engage you in dialogue that will hopefully enlighten you as to things and give you a perspective from which you may have not looked, to inspire you to go up and uplift someone else. And so on that note, we want to say thank you again for tuning in to Voices Randomish. And again, subscribe to our channel, follow us on Instagram, check us out on Facebook. And again, in all things, we want to know, what's your frequency? Bye, y'all. Deuces. Bye. If I could ever turn the stupid thing off. Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Okay.
Stop already.